Let's go, Andrew! Good swim, don't look back! Go, go, go! Go, go, go! Okay, Stadium, if you'd like to come around and have a look at the session.
Where dreams become reality.
Well, on, Peter, what was that one? 2:15. Very good. We're basically just going to work through the 4 sculling drills, which is skull number 1, skull number 2, skull number 3, and then doggy paddle.
Where dreams become reality.
I'd just like to introduce you to Bill Kirby, Olympic gold medalist and our drill demonstrator extraordinaire. Bill has achieved at the highest level of swimming all around the world and can confess to the importance of refining your technique to help improve your efficiency through the water.
Well, Paul, to be honest, I wouldn't do a session without doing drills. I've got a whole bunch of drills to focus on different parts of my technique, and I've learnt them from different coaches around the world. It's really good to have one thing at a time to focus on. It's like juggling. If you can think about one ball at a time, you're always going to catch it. The more balls you try and catch, the more that you're going to drop. So I try and keep it simple, and flippers probably to start off with, particularly with the new drills, but I wouldn't do a session without it. So I look forward to showing you some of the drills that really helped me in my technique.
Okay, as well as having Bill down here at Challenge Stadium helping us out with a demonstration of some of these drills, I've also asked the kind permission of Paul and Nat from the Stadium Triathlon Club to help us out as well. These guys can demonstrate the drills, which are actually going to be quite specific to their particular swim stroke. They also perform these drills a bit better than Bill as well. Thanks, guys.
All right.
To get the best use out of this DVD, we have split up the main page of the DVD title screen into specific areas of your freestyle stroke. For example, you can first off start by looking at the head position. You may like to look at the leg kick position in the water, or the body roll, or you can simply play the whole thing at once. What I recommend you do is play the whole thing once, and then maybe if you've got a specific area of your stroke which you'd like to really concentrate on, so say for example you know your leg kick is pretty poor, people might have even been laughing at you down at the pool, then maybe just zoom in on that and have a look through the freestyle leg kick section. You may have heard people talking about drills in the pool, but what exactly are drills and how should you practice them? Quite simply, a drill is something which allows you to break the freestyle stroke down into a very small area. And obviously that small area is basically trying to refine a particular skill. Now the textbook definition, or the dictionary definition of a skill is as follows. Ability to do something well. Practice your expertise with efficiency and fluency. Now with most drills, it's majorly important to make sure you actually perform the drill at a slow pace, at your own time, and without being rushed by someone else tapping along on your toes. So for a lot of the drills that we do down here today, it's probably best you actually try them in your own time, swimming by yourself in the pool. When you learn a new skill, your brain goes through 3 phases of learning. The first phase is what we call the cognitive processing phase. The second phase, the associative phase. And the third and final stage, the autonomous stage, when you start to perform that skill a little bit more automatically. Now in terms of your drills in the pool, during that first stage of learning, so when you practice the skill the first time, you're probably actually going to make quite a few mistakes. Eventually, you'll start to move into the associative phase when you start to practice the drill a little bit more fluently. During this time, you can expect to sort of really appreciate why you're actually doing that drill. Eventually, you move on to the autonomous stage where you start to perform the drill automatically. I've been conducting one-to-one swim stroke correction sessions down here at Challenge Stadium for about the last 3 years. And one of the best tools I actually use during those sessions is a video camera. During the warm-up, I film somebody swimming as they swim normally. At the end of the session, I'm able to actually show them through their own stroke on the video camera in slow motion. This allows them to visualise the areas which I've highlighted with their stroke, which need to be improved. The aim of this DVD is to provide you with visual cues to help improve your efficiency through the water. Now, whilst we feature Bill Kirby, Olympic gold medalist, performing many of the drills in a perfect manner, we also feature many swimmers who have taken for one-on-ones in the past and with their kind permission, demonstrating freestyle strokes which are not quite as efficient through the water. This is one of the easiest ways for the brain to ascertain what is good and what is not quite so good, and to allow you to practice a more efficient freestyle stroke. We all know with cycling and running that the harder you try, the faster you'll go. But this is not necessarily the case with swimming. To improve your efficiency through the water, we really need to work on trying to refine your technique. And the aim of this DVD is to provide you with some drills in the pool which will help you with that. Now, as you practice these drills, hopefully your speed will improve as well. But the main aim here is to try and improve your efficiency so that the next time you get out after swimming in a triathlon, that you feel a lot more relaxed and your energy levels are much higher for your cycling and for your running legs. Many of you won't be super fish in the water, and for a lot of you, even just getting down to the pool can be a real chore. Many view swimming as a necessary evil to complete a triathlon event. However, I'm hoping that your enjoyment of swimming will improve once you get to know a few of these drills and techniques that we're going to show you now. One of the best ways to improve your symmetry through the water is to try to go from unilateral breathing, i.e. breathing just to one side, to bilateral breathing, alternating which side you're actually breathing to. But for some people, particularly if you've gone from breathing every 2 strokes to bilateral breathing, which is every 3 strokes or every 5 strokes, obviously you're having to, in inverted commas, hold your breath for a little bit longer in the water. Now, just the process of actually holding the breath underneath the water tends to lead to a little bit of anxiety in the body and in the chest and the lungs. So when you go to take the next breath, instead of it being a nice relaxed inhale, like so, it actually becomes more of a gasp, like this. Okay, now the physiology behind that, when you take a breath in, you're obviously sucking in oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now the body's actually using the oxygen, but it doesn't need the carbon dioxide, and that actually needs to be expelled from the lungs. If you actually hold on to the carbon dioxide in the lungs, okay, whilst the oxygen's actually being used up, the carbon dioxide, the relative amount of carbon dioxide is increasing, which is sending the signal to the brain, telling you, okay, we really need to take a gasp of breath here. Okay, so the best way to focus on improving your bilateral breathing and your relaxation in the water when you're trying this is to make sure when your head's in the water, you're focusing on breathing out or exhaling forcefully and freely through the water. This next set of drills is based around the idea of imagining yourself doing a little demonstration which is going breathe, bubble, bubble, breathe. So in time with your strokes, you can actually say bubble, bubble, and that in itself will actually make sure you're exhaling in the water. Here we go. I do recommend bilateral breathing as a way, as one of the easiest ways of actually trying to improve your symmetry in the water. For most people, like we just said, breathing every 3 strokes does feel a little bit more awkward. Try this drill now, breathing every 3, breathe, bubble, bubble, breathe, and you should feel a little bit more relaxed in the water. Breathe, bubble, bubble, and breathe. Bubble, bubble, and breathe. Bubble, bubble, and breathe. Just in time with the strokes there, really focusing on his exhalation in the water, allowing him to keep nice and relaxed. problem I see with many swimmers is that when they go to take a breath, the arm which should be supporting himself in the water tends to drop without catching any water and pulling through. So this next exercise, which I call isometric kick exercise, is going to help you with that. Now, this particular phenomenon happens to most people, especially when they go from breathing unilaterally to breathing bilaterally. So on one side, so say for example they breathe to the left hand side, they can usually hold the water with the right arm as they breathe quite well. But trying to practice breathing out to the right hand side, this left arm will typically just drop like this in the water. Okay, so with the kickboard, what we're going to do, we're going to place the fingertips towards the end of the kickboard, just cock the wrist like this, rest the elbow on the back of the board, and then we're going to push off with the kickboard extended out in front of us, like this, kicking along the side with the other arm down by the side. We'll be kicking along perfectly on our sides, with the ear down on the shoulder, and what I'd like you to try and do is just try and apply pressure on your fingertips just to nudge the nose end of the kickboard down, which will help sort of lift you out of the water. And you'll feel a really good stretch under the arm here. Now when we get to the far end, I'm going to turn around and I'm simply going to come back, saying to myself as I'm swimming along, 1, 2, strong stroke. 1, 2, strong stroke. That'll be in time with my stroke, like this. Breathe. 1, 2, strong stroke. 1, 2, strong stroke. And I'm going to really think about, on that third stroke, trying to hold the water and not simply allow my arm to drop in the water there. The reason we call this one isometric kick exercise is because if you think about it, the size of this kickboard and the buoyancy of the kickboard is going to be too much for you to actually push it down in the water. You're only going to get the sensation of applying the muscle force here to actually do so. Okay, here we go. Bombs away. Okay, pushing off with the kickboard stretched out in front of me, right hand resting on the board, fingertips just applying pressure on the front end of the board just to nudge the nose end down. I'm feeling a good stretch under my right armpit there. Trying to lift my chest and shoulders up out of the water. I'm really imagining the kickboard is like a great big huge paddle. Just swapping over onto the other side. Feeling that great stretch underneath the armpit. Now when I get down to the far end, I'm going to come back normal freestyle, just saying to myself, 1, 2, strong stroke. 1, 2, strong stroke. So that strong stroke is when I'm breathing, so I'm not dropping the arm in the water.
Sure, I ain't scared of nothing. Open sesame.
two schools of thought for the head position in the water. The first position, which I normally term like the old school position, is to try and think about the water level just slightly above the goggle mark, so you're actually looking slightly further forward in the water. The more contemporary view is to make sure the head and the eyes are looking directly down at the bottom of the pool. Both have pros and cons. First one, looking forward like so, for triathletes and open water swimmers can be pretty advantageous, because obviously it's just a short rise of the head to actually look forward and view for the buoys. Now the more contemporary method, where you're looking down at the bottom of the pool, has come about to help people who've got a fairly weak leg kick and their body position where their legs are actually sunk down in the water. Popping your head down towards the bottom of the pool will help raise the pelvis and the legs up in the water. But for most people, it can almost tend to lead to quite a sort of rounded stroke over the top of the water here. This next section, we're going to look at the freestyle leg kick. In particular, we're going to look at whether you're improving your freestyle leg kick through increasing the amount of propulsion, or more importantly, trying to decrease the amount of drag. Now, for efficient freestyle swimming, efficient distance freestyle swimming, trying to actually focus on decreasing the amount of drag is probably more apparent than trying to increase the amount of propulsion. This next section lists some of those drills which are going to help you with that.
Every time you push off the wall, I like to get into a really good habit of making sure you're pushing off with your chin on your chest, one hand on top of the other, in a position we call a torpedo, like so. Now if you think about your abdominals, almost like a stick of licorice, making sure you're stretching out here and really maximising your length in the water, you'll really make sure that torpedo is really effective. Try this next time you push off.
Good.
So let's have a look at the freestyle leg kick. Essentially, we want to be looking at a few areas. First off, we want to make sure the toes are pointed, like so. We also need to make sure that the legs aren't parting like we're doing a great big scissor kick in the water, like this. And thirdly, we need to make sure that we're actually kicking through from the hips and not bending excessively from the knees. And one of the easiest ways to actually think about this is making sure you're squeezing your bum as you're kicking along. Now, all these three factors combined together contribute to drag, and we don't want that for efficient freestyle leg kick. We're going to observe Bill Kirby now, going into the ballet leg kick pose to help you work on this particular area.
As Bill's swinging forward there, you can see how his toes are pointed. He's squeezing his bum, stretching out in his abdominals there, and kicking through from the hips. You see how his knee is just slightly relaxed there. He's not stiff in the knee, but certainly he's actually kicking right the way through from the hips. Okay, just increasing the tempo a bit. Good. Okay, simply going to swap over. From the other side, you can really see how he's swinging all the way through from the hips. His hips is a pivot point. Squeezing the glutes, squeezing his bum, and keeping those ankles nice and relaxed and toes pointed. And just increasing the tempo again, just to really feel the effect of the kick. Now obviously that's Bill increasing his amount of proportion there, and as you probably tell you there, it's obviously increased energy cost as well. Now as a triathlete, there's no way you'd be able to maintain that sort of leg kick for 1500 metres or even a 3.8k swim in the ocean. So what I'm going to ask Bill to do now is swim back easy freestyle, and all we're going to focus on here is just a very relaxed freestyle leg kick, and the two big toes just being pointed and just rubbing slightly past each other like so. This will obviously stop the sort of scissor kick leg action happening like so. Okay, Bill. Nice easy freestyle back. Now you can see how Bill's ankles are really relaxed and his toes are pointed out behind him there. Looking nice and efficient. That's great, Bill.